Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story from one of our 40-plus chapters that stretch from the Triangle, which is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and all the towns around, all the way to Wilmington and the coastline and all points in between. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. And each week, our chapters meet, and our goal as a member is to help each other grow their businesses. So our local small business success story this week is the man who runs and owns both regions, Steve Hand. He is executive director for the Triangle and Coastal regions. He's been doing it a while, since 2007. We're going to talk about that and a number of things. Steve, glad to have you on the show.
Glad to be here, Mike.
Everything going good today?
Oh, yes. Busy
No.
as always, crazy as always.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
always great. Yeah.
And you only have 13 Zoom calls and 82 emails to send out, right?
Oh, that's right. Yep, exactly. So,
All right. So you've been executive director for both regions since 2007. And we
Right.
talk about this pretty much every week with the guests we have on, just kind of what BNI is. We have Givers Gain, we have Know, Like, and Trust, we have a lot of those things. But the more I got into BNI, the more it just came down to the core purpose is developing relationships. And we'll get to, folks, if you want to hang around for a good story, we're going to talk about how Steve bought his first car at the age of 11. So we're going to get to that. But you've been in commerce for a long time. What the people that do well, especially in BNI, but other networking organizations as well, that's fine. We'll bring them in too. But what do they get about building relationships that maybe some others don't?
Sure. Yeah, the one thing is to build a relationship deep is extremely important, not surface. To really go deep on what you're looking for. So, um, sometimes I talk about the referral confidence curve. I don't know if I've talked to you about that with you, Mike, probably, but it is the bend that you would take on your journey. And the quickest analogy is being on a airplane, and once it gets going, it's moving. Generally, it doesn't matter what size the plane is. Usually about 20 seconds, and it takes off. When it takes off, it's pretty steep.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you walking around. They want you buckled in, your bags all secured, because it's pretty steep. It's pretty intense. And that's what happens when the relationship is solid. And when I draw that curve on the board, we look for the point where the bend is. Everybody picks it a little bit differently, but the bottom line is that's when you're trusted. That's the most important part of your relationship, is to be trusted. Trust that you can do what you say. Trust that you can say what you can do. Trust that you can deliver what you promise. Trusted on every level. And so there are some people that you will receive some business without trust because the need is so great. You drive into a new town, your car's making a funny noise. You're just going to go to a car repair shop and cross your fingers and hope it works, right? But you're not going to refer to anybody until you have trust. And once you have trust, that takes off. And then that trust is passed on to the next person you meet. They can then refer you just as well by somebody else who looks just like them with the same need, and you provide the same solution. So that's the heart of it. And it takes some time, it takes some effort, but the payoff is tremendously valuable.
And I think that's the difference where people, they don't understand. And again, like you mentioned earlier, it'll take different amount of time with different amount of people. But in general, I think some people can assume, well, Steve and I had a one-to-one. He knows what I do. And that's not the whole story, is it?
Right. Yes. I don't recognize who needs your service.
Mm.
They're invisible to me. I don't know whether you can meet the needs of what I do see. It's unsure. So it's easier for me to do nothing, not to refer you, not to take the risk. I mean, there's a lot of levels at play there that hamper you. So every time you can build bridges to solve those issues, the more success you're going to have.
Yeah, and I think everything starts with the elevator pitch, at least for me, because if I stand in a room and you and Amnon are in the room and I just lay out 45 seconds of corporate junk words, you're both gonna wait for someone else to ask you to help them.
Yes.
Hey, I want to be introduced to any realtor you know that just got started. And one of you two is going to go, you know what? I got somebody for you. So, how do we get people to think strategically along those lines that I got to know who my ideal client is?
Yes. So there's a couple things you're looking for. One is your ideal client needs what you offer. That's the end. That's the most important part. That's where the whole thing pivots on. Now, need is an unusual thing to look at. You got to look deeper. Not only do they need what you offer, but they know they need it. Right? I could do to lose a few pounds, but I'm not interested in joining the club. That's I have the need, but I don't perceive the need. I'm not motivated. So that's the first thing is the need. After that, they need to have the authority to pull the trigger. There are some things I can just go ahead and buy it and don't have to communicate with my wife and collaborate on that. But a lot of things I do. I could stop and get a cup of coffee. Maybe a sweet tea, biggie tea, or whatever. But after that, I pretty much have to run it past the boss.
Mm.
So they have to have the authority to pull the trigger for what you offer in addition to that. The next is you need access to those people at that time, and that's what the network provides. So you can take those letters MANA, kind of like manna, it's what it's all about, and those are what are needed. And so your 60-second, your 45-second pitch has to educate in that area. Your moment of truth has to educate in that area. When somebody became one of my clients, I mean, there's so many interactions you do along the journey from somebody from I know them, they need me, we're working, I'm servicing them after, whatever. All along that journey, um, there are moments in there, but when somebody became a client, there were 6 places I could find a referral for somebody in my chapter. I just built it right in.
Yeah.
That's the first question. If it's not a fit, they don't meet one of those criteria, I just move on. I ask the second question. They are a fit, they have the need, they're interested, they want to meet that person. I've got a credible source for them. I put them in touch with them and I don't ask the other question because I don't
Yep.
want 6 people calling them up.
Yep.
They're not going to want any of them. I find one solution and provide it at the right time. The others will come in their own day, whatever it is.
Yeah, one of the analogies I use in training is all right, so a painter drives through many neighborhoods all week long, and
Okay.
they know the houses that need painted. But back to your point, the owners may not think their house is that ugly yet.
They don't spend any time on the outside. They're on the
Yeah.
inside. It looks great.
Yeah, because I want to meet people that need to exercise. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
Hey, you need to do a little bit better than that. But back to
Yeah,
your point, do they know they need to exercise? And then how do you get to that question? Like, hey, Steve, I see you've
yes.
been,
Put on a few pounds.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not a conversation to have with everybody.
No, it is not. It is not. You better know them real well to ask for
Exactly.
anything about health and wealth. You better know them
Yes,
real well to
I like
ask.
that phrase. Yep, that's exactly right. Yep. And those are the ones that really take a lot on that
Yeah.
curve to build that trust and
Oh yeah,
credibility.
yeah, and usually though, when it does, those long runways, to build the trust, when it works, they'll usually going to stay with you for a while.
Exactly. Yep.
All right,
Exactly.
so you bought both regions in 2007. Your
No, I bought 2007. I bought the first region.
okay.
2015, I bought the second one. So
Oh, I had my notes wrong. Okay, thanks.
that's fine. No
All right.
problem. Yep.
Um, so the first time you ever heard of BNI was when and where?
Okay. Yeah. Just like I talked about with that, bringing a client in. So my second customer in the, well, I guess I can back up a little bit farther. So, um, you are going to talk about my early entrepreneur years. My wife wanted me to stop that once we started to, you know, buy a house and get kids and all that stuff. She wanted a steady paycheck. So I got a job in the tech world. And what I was doing is I was putting computer systems in, and it was typically my projects were 6 months. So for 6 months, I'd be commuting to Montreal. 6 months, I'd be commuting to Wales. 6 months to Houston, right? Doing that kind of stuff. And and then it was a situation where it just it was too much travel. So that's what brought me to North Carolina. Took a job down here. I could go pretty much anywhere. It was really nice. The company bought my house. They put my car and shipped it down here. Um, and then I came to give me a pretty nice severance package. And so I took the summer off to kind of, get established after, well, sorry, I came down here, got things going. And then that job stayed for 5 years. And then it went to Florida, which was fine with me. But my wife, with the kids being young, didn't want to do that. So they understood, I understood. We just took a severance at that point. And I took the summer off. And then I started cranking up my networking about the middle of the summer, late summer, because I knew what I was good at. I just didn't want to travel. So what I did is I found 13 companies in this area that had 5 people doing the job I would be doing. That's 75 people across 13 companies. I just started to let them know I was available. I had the buzzwords, got the skill, this kind of stuff. My thought, if I can't become a 76th somewhere or replace one of those 75 somewhere because of maternity or retirement, who knows what, then I'm obviously doing the wrong thing. So I just started cranking it up. And I wound up getting 3 job interviews on the same day. And that was September 11th, 2001.
Oh,
Yeah. So my timing couldn't have been better, right? So we thought for sure it's World War III. The first person still interviewed me was online. But, she didn't know what was happening. So I just went through the process with her. And, she didn't know, but the afternoon people said, Steve, this could be World War III.
yeah.
We're definitely not thinking about hiring. I get it. So I had to change at that point, get back into business. And so I did. I went looking for a network marketing company because it's easy to get in, easy to get started. I knew I could do it. And once the market opens back up, which hopefully it will, and I'd be able to go back to my process. So I did that, and it was great being an entrepreneur again. My second customer is a longtime friend of mine, golfing buddy, all that kind of stuff, forensic psychologist. He was in a BNI chapter. So I
Wow.
went to the BNI chapter with him. This is great. There's no competition. They're listening to me every single week. They're tuned in. They're taking notes. My thing was I was going to join 10 chapters. I couldn't see why anybody wouldn't join 10. I didn't get it. You can only join one. I do now, but that was it. And I would say probably within a year, maybe a year and a half, I was the number one sales rep in the country with 30,000 of us out there. Now, it was my BNI people that did it. That was what did it. So using the entire system, and that was my process. So I
What,
don't remember what the question was,
what,
but
no, you got it.
how
What,
to get into BNI? That was to the guy who invited me.
yep.
That's how I got
What
started.
was the first company?
Pardon me?
What was the first company that
Well,
got you into BNI?
it was called Prepaid Legal
Yep.
Services,
All right.
and so a network of attorneys. And so that's the thing. When you became a client, my first question: we're going to send some materials to your address. Great, Mike. What's your address? I'd get it. Do you rent or do you own? If you owned, I moved on. If you
Yep.
rented, I just asked one more question. Do you always want to? Yeah, we move around. I moved on. But if you rent and you don't want to, I could refer you to the mortgage guy.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
was as simple as that, right? My last question, because we covered the whole family, is okay, your kids, what are their ages, all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. Now I know a little bit about you. You went to, let's say you went to Notre Dame. I know you didn't, but you went to Florida State. I'll go with that, right?
That's better. That's better.
I know you didn't, but that's fine. But you went to a college like that, and so you got 4 kids, and they're all going to get college education like that too, right? So how are you going to do that? And everybody said, "Oh, we're saving. We're getting ready for it.
Hmm.
We're covered," because they could see you're going to refer me to somebody at this point, a financial planner. So it took a little time for it. Well, first I found out you got kids, all that kind of stuff, and you were always prepared, right? And the financial planner said they're not. But the bottom line is, what I had to do was shift it around to how are they going to get to college? Every parent thinks their kids are going to get a scholarship.
Hmm.
Fantastic. 8 years old. What's he good at? Now I had a chance to turn it into something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a matter of working it. So, yeah.
So then how did the purchase come about
Yeah,
from that time until 2007?
sure. Yeah, I joined and I'm knocking it out just fine. And there's a guy named Rob who's running it. And Rob's a great guy. He's doing fantastic. Unfortunately, he gets divorced. He starts drinking. He unravels. We're still friends. He's down in the Louisiana area, Mississippi area. But he went through a rough patch there. So then they brought in a guy named Bill. Bill's a business coach, great guy. And Bill said, I'll do this for a year, but if it interferes with my coaching, I'm going to stop. And so Bill did it for 365 days, not 366. And I didn't know any of this stuff was going on. I just know Rob's here, then he's gone. Bill's here, then he's gone. And now they bring Toby in, and Toby's got 4 kids under 6, and he lives at the coast. How much time do you think he wants to spend up here in Raleigh, Gary, Durham? As little as possible, right? So he's starting to get this. He's more like 14, 16 months at this time. So I went to the owner of the company. I said, I could see the handwriting on the wall. This guy's going to follow the path of the other two. And rather than bring somebody from Virginia, I'm right here. I think I could probably help you out. And his question to me is, you mean as an employee or as an owner? Own what? I
Yeah.
had no idea BNI was a franchise. So we looked at it. We took a look. A month later, I wrote the biggest check of my life. And that was it. Bought the region in place. And we've doubled it every 5 years. And I was wrong when I said 2015. I bought the Wilmington region in 2011. I renewed it in 2015.
Okay.
That's why that's in my,
All right.
for 2010, I guess. But whatever, it's a 5-year franchise that you agreement that we signed. So,
And no looking back once you wrote the check,
oh
but because you'd seen it work.
yes, oh yes, oh yeah. Last year, our members did $46 million in business amongst each other. Less than 1,000 members doing that. So, my personal goal is to up 1,000 members, make $100,000 every single year.
Yeah.
For
And
BNI.
so then your first couple of goals, knowing what you knew back then, were what?
Basically just to figure it out, to get in. For the first 2 years, I ran the Legal Shield business. It's now called Legal Shield, prepaid legal and BNI. But it really came down to the point that it didn't make sense to do both. I had to commit. So I had a 6-month pipeline. It took me 6 months once I made the decision to actually get to my last prepaid legal sale. And I can remember sitting in the living room with that guy. I know I could have convinced him to do it. It's a no-brainer, and it was for many, many people. But I'd already emotionally moved on to focus on BNI, and so that was it. And I didn't realize they had this thing called Players Club. It's very politically incorrect, but it was a fit back then for the high producers.
Mm.
And I was in for 96 straight months program. If I'd only gone 4 more months, 100 months sounds cool, but
Yeah.
that was it. I didn't even look at that till maybe 2 years later. But that's how it happened to make the commitment just to BNI.
Now
And
looking
we
so
cranked it.
yep. So looking back on that, so today Steve would have told day one Steve back then what?
Make the move right away. Exactly. So, yep. But again, I had a 6-month pipeline, which is
Yeah.
I promised to you, my referral partner. So I couldn't really cut it off all the way, but make the move as quickly as possible. Um, that's the big thing. And then build systems. I'm a big systems builder,
Mhm.
so the more you build systems, the more effective you're going to be. Build them sooner and bigger is the big thing. So our success is from launching chapters. Launched one this morning. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Appreciate that. 4 o'clock in the morning, I saw. So good for you. That's great. Launch chapters, build chapters, and retain members, and that's what we're all about. And it's the success that does it. Now, sometimes you have so much success you can't keep going. I get it. That's a factor of life. But if you can build a system, we can teach you to scale, then you can do both because it is possible.
And the first couple of things you learned along the way about with regard to growing the business was what?
I was really good at it. So my big thing, even before when I was just a member, is I would bring somebody to the BNI chapter, and 100% of them became clients. It was a no-brainer. So inviting is the big thing. Now, I didn't want them to join. I was not in that role. I wanted them to become one of my clients and keep on moving, right? And so, I mean, that's the thing. My last sale was in 2009. I still get paid, and I love it. So it's really a good process. But the key is to invite. Keep growing your network. Keep deepening your network. Keep growing the people you know. Keep help them be successful, and keep deepening the relationship as well. So
When you bought Triangle BNI in 2007, did you stay in as a member in the chapter you
I
were
did.
in?
I did. Yeah, I did for quite a while. And so that was until I grew too big. I couldn't. I had to. I couldn't It was a Thursday lunchtime chapter, which wasn't bad for that. And so what I did is I joined a chapter that was in the farthest region for us, Durham. I had 11 counties when I started. Now we have 46. It was in the farthest area, and really I could focus there rather than right here. So that was my focus, but that took me away from the other chapters at that point. So after a couple of years, I had to step aside. And then after a few years, I got the system back in place and I joined them back at that point. So, and it was interesting. Attendance is important. And I knew with my commitments going for conferences and doing this, training and all that kind of stuff, that on this particular date, I'm going to hit my absence limit. And so I told the president, I said, I'm glad to be a part of this on whatever it was, I think it was September 8th. That'll be my last meeting, but that's okay. But he said, well, you know, it resets, because I totally forgot it resets. In the old days, we did that. We reset it. So it would have been fine. But anyway, when I had my first absence in that chapter, I just, system guy, I just called everybody I knew that was a good fit, gave them all the information. Here's the day, here's the time, here's why you'd be a good fit. There's going to be a CPA you need to meet, a realtor you need to meet, whatever, right? That fits you. And come on out. And I just left your voicemail, because that's what you get 9 times out of 10 is voicemail. And then I kept calling the non-BNI people until someone said, I can make it. I set them up. I crafted a 60 seconds for them that also reflected who can help, how they can, it's my business, but how it can help them, right? So your assigned company being in BNI is a good sign of a good business, whatever, something like that. I put it together for you. Also to help motivate you to actually show up. Because some non-BNI people are a little less reliable. They think they're going to do it on Thursday afternoon, but by Thursday morning, they're on to other things. So, yeah. But then once I got that commitment from a non-BNI person, then I called the same type of people, open seats, BNI people, to invite them. I said, I've got somebody coming who's not in BNI. They may or may not show up, but I want to make sure that the chapter's covered. If you can come out, that'd be great. Left them voicemails. Somebody said, yes, I was done. But by the time I got those 2 people committed, other people had called and said, yeah, I can do it, because they picked up the voicemail and came in. So the bottom line is that day I had 14 visitors, 14 people that were substituting for me. And the chapter didn't know what to do. So, I mean, they had 14 people subbing for me. They had 14 people. I'm Steve Hand. No, I'm Steve Hand. No, I'm Steve Hand. And one of the guys says, very handsy day that day. So, but now they know that the first person that says they're subbing for me, okay, you're the sub. Everybody else, you're a visitor. Come on in. It works well.
And so other than your wife, Shirley, who was your first paid employee?
Yeah. Shirley's not been on the books right away. No. So we do the books every other week for business and every week for personal. But I really want, my son worked for me for 2 or 3 months, because I really wanted, if something happened to me, somebody could keep running it as well. My daughter now works for me, even though she's in Philly, it's remote, and she's fabulous. You're an employee as well. I've got about 25 1099 people in there. So it's a pretty good sized organization, a lot of moving pieces, but it goes pretty well. So I've had some people that worked out and some people that haven't. So I had a guy that ran the coastal region for a while, but his life unraveled a little bit. And so it's kind of unfortunate. Once COVID ended and gas was $4 a gallon, it was 2.5 hours down to Wilmington, I had to pick it up myself again. So, but that's fine. It's part of life.
Yeah, and COVID was an interesting pivot on the minute, because once everything happened with COVID, and I remember talking to Joe Aiello when I was in Connections in Motion, and Joe's like, how long do you think this will last, Mike? I'm like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Which is why,
Yeah. And we were kind of fortunate without even realizing it, because BNI was pretty heavily present in China and heavily present in Italy, where the 2 early warning spots were. So they started teaching us running graphs, and we had, green, blue, yellow, red levels. I didn't know what all that stuff meant, right? Until 1 week we were red. March 14th or whatever it was, 2020, whatever that week was, and everybody had to go online instantly.
And how quick did it take BNI to get that relationship with Zoom up and running? Because they had to get a Zoom member, or get a Zoom channel for every chapter around the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so it was kind of their need met Zoom's technical capability, and it worked pretty well. So Zoom has never looked back from COVID. It's what turned them into what they are
Yeah.
today. But it's still, we're using Zoom now. COVID is over, but it's a great resource to continue your business in a lot of ways. So, but yeah, they had enterprise level licenses that were very inexpensive compared to what it cost everybody else, but they're buying hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
them. They
yeah.
get that volume discount too, and
Yeah.
great support. And so PowerPoints were put together, the agenda was revised, everything was ready to go. We got some training and things like that. And so really, we were closed for 1 week,
Hmm.
in person, closed, online, all of our chapters in that little bit of a time. So
Yeah. Looking back on it, it was pretty impressive what had to
yes,
happen. And I
yes,
can't imagine how many people on BNI corporate side and Zoom corporate side were working on this to get this up and running.
a lot, a lot. Great resources. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So yep,
So
and
is
it
there a,
worked pretty seamlessly. So
yep.
yeah.
Do you have a normal work week, and what does something like that look like?
Yeah, it's eight to faint is what I've heard. So it's pretty much whenever I get up. I set the alarm clock for 5 o'clock in the morning because there's things I need to do before all the interruptions flow in.
Mm.
So I use a box and shelf method. I'll start something the night before, box it up. So at 5 o'clock or 5:05, I can jump right in and get that going. And that is stuff that's not going to interfere with people. I find I can't email or text because some people are living with their phone right next to them. Not me. I turn it off. Right now it's
Yep.
off when it's not in use. It's off a lot. So because I want to focus on what I'm all about. But I will start then at 5 o'clock. Pretty much runs pretty hard through the day, less hard in the afternoon, and even less in the evening. So usually by 6 o'clock, I'm pretty much done at that point. Although there's exceptions, I'm going to some networking events in the evening, things like that. But that's pretty much the way it goes for me. And we get a lot done with a lot of systems and teams. So
So give us a, for the people watching, give us a good business organization of time hack or tip, because I know you've looked,
okay,
you are a systems guy, and I know
yeah,
you've looked at a bunch of different ways to do certain things. So how do you manage your time focusing and staying on time to do your time?
yep, yeah. When I was a customer of IBM way back in the tech days, right? They had a program, they called it Kepner Traeger. It's named after two scientists. And and I still find that is the best method and I still use it. So say you've got a discrete number of tasks, and I'm just going to say 10 just to keep it simple, right? So I have a spreadsheet that holds my task items.
Mm.
Now, my spreadsheet has 8,000 items in its to-do list. Doesn't mean I'm going to do all 8,000, but they're in there, they're documented. I don't have to forget them, they're there. There's a follow-up section for things that I follow up, usually on Fridays or for that. But basically, like for instance, I just put, I think 10 things into my next slice of time. So my next 2 hour block will be for these things. And so of my 10 things, I put them on two basic elements. The first is I figured out how much time I'm going to need to do it. And I do mine in 6 minute increments. So 6, 12, 18, 24. Got the idea, right? I set it up. So it's kind of apples to apples on effort. And then I group them by, maybe these are on scheduling. This is Microsoft Word. This is credit card processing. This is technology, whatever it is. I kind of put those together like that. And so I got my two dimensions there. And it's value, how important is it, and how difficult is it? And so I take those 10 things and I break them into three groups. So I'll have A, B, and C, which is these are the most important things, second most, and third most. These are the easiest, second easiest, and third easiest. Easiest to hardest, right? Most important to least important. They're all important, but they're bracketed out there discreetly. And then I put them number 3, 2, or 1 on each of those things. So I've got 3 threes, 4 twos, and 3 ones. And they discreetly fall into one or the other on those two dimensions. So now if it's a 3 and a 3, that's a 9. I multiply them together. That's a 9. The nines I do first. Highest payoff, easiest to accomplish. Then I'll get my sixes, which is a 3 times 2. So I do a 6A, which is 3 up on the importance, 2 on the effort. I'll do a 6B, which is 2 on the importance, 3 on the effort, and I'll do the 6As before the 6Bs. You can see it's a pretty simple process. It
Can
takes just a few minutes to put it together, my roadmap, and I just go.
can Shirley or Leora read that and understand that?
No, nobody
Okay.
can.
All
It's
right.
simple, but
So that if you did all that today and you get an email from somebody tomorrow about something needs to be done, how do you move things around once you have those nines and sixes and everything in order?
yeah, like I said, it's just like I said, in that case, it was 2 hours worth of time.
Yep.
So at 2 hours of time, I'm done or not. I'm a bad time estimator. I'm always optimistic, but
Yes.
sometimes things take 2 minutes. But I give it at least 6. Other
Okay.
times I think I'm going to get this done in 12 minutes and it takes half an hour.
Yep.
But bottom line, I get better at it as I go.
Okay.
And then I've got that. Once that 2 hours is done, then I can open up to new input.
Ah, okay.
Go
I
down,
got you.
go check my text, check
There you
my
go.
email, check my voicemail, get all my inputs, shut them all back down, and refigure it out, and go again.
I like that. All
Yep,
right.
that
So
works.
one of the best questions I get to ask married guests on the show is your wife's name is Shirley. I always
Really,
ask
yep.
everybody, and I love this story. How did you meet, and do you both tell it the same way?
Yeah, pretty much the same way. Yeah. So um, uh, back in my 20s, you can see I got well, I'll get to it. So back in my 20s, a friend of mine and I, he's a good entrepreneur and a fantastic musician. There wasn't a single instrument he couldn't play: piano, trombone, trumpet, everything. He had a percussion set, everything. Very, very good. And so, and he had a lot of video equipment and things like that. The cool thing was too, his brother was on the Chamber of Commerce, so we learned a little bit about business from him beyond what we knew from our lives as entrepreneurs. And the bottom line is, we wanted to start a radio and television advertising agency. We were really close to New York City and New Jersey, and the main reason we started it was as a way to meet girls. And because we wound up doing in about 2 years, 2.5 years, we did about 14 commercials. So you'd hear a really cheesy commercial for a bank. That was us, right? Or you'd see a video and it was in the Monty Python style with arms being cut off and blood's praying out. That was us, right? So we did about 14 commercials, but we had about 70 casting parties. Every week was a casting party. And so Shirley was new to town. She went to the antique store right next door to us. The guy's name was Buzzy. Don't really know why. They just called him that. So he was pretty buzzy. Anyway, what he said, "Are you going to the party next door?" We had rented a church on the second floor of the church, was our studio and also my apartment. And so we had a party up there. She came, met her. It all went from there. So yeah. So today is every day is an anniversary for me. So today it's 44 years, 100 days we've been married.
Very nice. Congratulations. I always like those moment in time decisions
Oh yes.
because if Shirley said, no, I've got to work or can't make it, does she show up to Buzzy's place again a week later and he goes,
Probably
hey,
not.
there's another party?
Yep, probably not. Isn't it interesting? Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I like those a lot. All right. So,
Yep.
so you two have a daughter, Leora, son named Jeff. But more importantly,
Yes.
while we love our kids, it's really about the grandkids now.
It's
So,
amazing. They're amazing.
so you got a grandson and a granddaughter.
Yep.
Have you been, I'm sure you've been passing along entrepreneur tips to them as you hold them while they sleep or just look at you, right?
Not yet, but it'll happen. Yep. But I'll tell you something that happened uh, just yesterday. So it's like it seems like 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, my grandson could barely roll over. Now he's pretty close to walking, getting around really, really well. It's amazing how that's changed. But anyway, uh, when it comes time for him to sleep, they'll put him in his crib and they've got a camera so they can see what's going on, right? And so yesterday we get a video. He's in his crib, but he's reaching through the bars and he's playing this little electronic piano thing instead of sleeping. and he's having a great time, right? Which is
Oh yeah.
fine. They're happy. He's kind of quiet, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, his mom goes to check on him, and right away he flops down like he's asleep.
Nice.
Oh yeah, at 1 years old, he's trying to fool mom. She's not fooled,
Oh, I
but
like that. All right. How's it? How are his music skills?
pretty good.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, it changes everything.
Oh
Because
yes.
we got a video call um from Oliver and Maggie on Sunday. We haven't talked to them in a couple of weeks, and my son, called, does a video call, and I hit accept. It's on, and there's Oliver with they were going to the Panthers Dolphins game. He likes Dolphins, so once he found out that
Right.
was an NFL football team, now that's his favorite team. And there's
Perfect.
Maggie just sitting there on the couch next to him, just shorts on. That's it. Just have hair everywhere, just having a blast, and that's
Yep,
Maggie.
that's
So yeah.
great. They're
Uh,
amazing.
you
They
are also
continue to change so rapidly. It's
Oh yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And she
Yeah.
then put a shirt on, started walking around, and I think she was then headed to put a skirt on, and yeah, just our line in the house. I'm sure many people watching and listening have kids or grandkids. That basically the explanation is Maggie only does what Maggie wants to do.
Oh yes. And she
Yep.
does it large.
Oh yeah, yeah. She walks in a room,
Wide
says,
open. Yep.
"Hello world, I'm here." So,
Yep,
all
that's
right, you've been
great.
playing poker for years. How does the mentality of poker help with your business acquisitions, growth, processes, things like that?
Sure. Yeah, there's a couple of ways that, people don't realize. You talked about if she hadn't shown up that time, right?
Mhm.
There is a certain element of luck in success, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And so what you need to do is be prepared for it and go after it. So poker is like that. Every now and then you're going to get a good hand, but even when you don't have a great hand, you got a chance to turn it into something.
Mm.
And that's what I like. You're working with incomplete knowledge, right? Um, so we played a poker game on a monthly basis, and it was high low, dealer's choice, a lot of variables in there. I liked it a lot. $100 buy-in, um, just a great game, and limited on the bets that you could place. So it had to be increments of the bet, $2, $4, $8, things like that. And it really was a good game. And so it really is. You're working with incomplete knowledge. You're really reading the room, reading the opportunity,
Mm.
assessing what you got, and taking chances. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. My brother-in-law plays poker in Vegas. He's not
Right.
at the A level, but he qualifies for a good number of tournaments.
Oh
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
whenever I talk to him about poker, I always ask him because he's a former FBI interrogator.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just asked him, all right, tell me about the guys at the last table you were at and what you learned. And you know this, Steve, you could do this once. I could just
Right.
do this, stroke my beard like this for a second, and then flop something that wins. And you're like,
Yes.
and I wouldn't have known, oh, that's a
Right.
tell. So
It's
next
a
time I
tell.
see
Right.
that, yeah.
Yep. It's just a reaction to you.
Yep. Oh
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. But
Yep.
it's interesting.
Or you can plant that
Yep.
before you flop.
Yep.
There's things, right? There's
Oh, yeah.
there's there's different ways. Yep.
All right, so I want to get to the story before we're done here. At the age of 11, you were a shareholder in a car.
Yes.
How did that
Yep.
happen?
Sure. Well, that was actually that was actually my second business. So the first business, when I was 8, I looked around at the world and I realized that we knew nothing. Kids, we know nothing, right? We're just running around like you talked about Maggie. We're not really, we don't know anything. Adults know everything. How do we unlock those secrets? That's what I needed to
Mhm.
figure out. And so I needed to be around adults a lot. My family was too sheltered on the information. How can I find people that are going to be open and give me some information? So I decided the best way was to start a paper route. So at age 8, I started a paper route. And the way that worked out is it came out in the afternoons. So it was perfect. It was a couple blocks from my house. So there was a lady who would let me keep my bike there, my paper bag there. And so Monday through Saturday, the paper came out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I had about 40 clients, and I would deliver them. Everything was great. And every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and beyond, I would get paid for it. So I'd meet them and get paid. On Sunday morning, the paper came out at 3 o'clock in the morning. All right. I'd never seen that time of day, but that's what you do. That's what you do. It was easy. I liked it. Very quiet time. Got a lot done. Really enjoyed it an awful lot. And so that's what was happening. And things were good. I liked getting the cash. I liked working with the adults. I learned an awful lot from them.
So
And
real quick, how much did you make back then?
oh, I don't know, but I made 24 cents a week per client. So you can multiply that by 40 plus some tips to me.
Okay, cool. All right.
Not a whole lot, but again, it was
And,
relative to the time,
and
right?
you were 8, yeah.
I was 8, exactly.
You had money coming
And
in.
so, not even before my 9th birthday, there was another kid in the next neighborhood over. He couldn't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, no matter what. I tried everything to teach him. You know, the box and shelf thing I talked about. That's why I kind of developed that. Throw your clothes out so you're ready the day before. You know, get a good night's sleep the night before. Whatever. Nothing worked with him. So we just sort of sat down and did the math. It really worked out. Like I said, I did 2 cents a day for a 10-cent paper and 12 cents on Sundays for a 35-cent paper. So if you do the math, that's pretty much an even split, 12 and 12. So what we decided is he would deliver both routes Monday through Saturday, and I'd do both routes on Sunday.
Okay.
So now I didn't have to bother that lady with the garage. I could keep my bike at home because I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I started doing that. It was great. I'm working 1 day a week. He's working 6. And then pretty soon another kid says, I don't have to get up on Sunday mornings. I'll do that too. By the time I was 10, I had 7 of those routes. I couldn't do it by myself anymore. So I had to hire my friends. So what I did then is the hardest part with getting, 8, 10, 9-year-old kids, 10, 11-year-old kids up at 3 o'clock in the morning and work with you is have them to shut up, be quiet.
Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning, for God's sake, be quiet. So once I got that solved, then we would deliver those papers. We were done. The way I paid them, my mom was a waitress, so she taught me how to do this. I would go to a Howard Johnson's. Breakfast is on me. And they could be as rowdy as they wanted at that point.
Ah, okay.
So that worked out pretty well. And that's going along. And then by the time I get to 11, there's a kid in town. He's 15, driving age in New York is 16. His father's got an insurance business, and he wants to buy a car so he can be ready when he reaches his 16th birthday to drive. He wants to be ready to hit the ground running, so to speak. Guess who can afford a car and he can't?
You. Yep.
Yes. So we got our friends together. I became a 20% owner. I think it cost me $15 to buy a $75 car. A little Hillman Minx. It had 3, standard shift on the column. I had to have locks on the gas pedals and the clutch and all that kind of stuff so I could reach it. But he had a really long driveway. It was great. And so the situation was we would get that thing out. We figured we'd learn how to tune an engine, all that kind of stuff, but it was so fun to drive up and down the driveway. We knew we had to take the mailbox out before we started because it wasn't going to survive. We wound up reseeding the guy's grass across the street a couple times because we drove across his yard. But the bottom line is every kid wanted to be a part of that. So you could sit in the middle of the back seat for a nickel. You could sit in the window seat in the back seat for a dime. 25 cents, you could sit up front. And for 50 cents, we would teach you how to, I was the teacher of the driving, teach you how to drive, and you could take it up and down the driveway 3 times.
And you made 20% of all of that.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
We could have bought 2 cars by the time the summer was over. Yeah.
And all the parents agreed to this.
Well, parents didn't know anything then. Well, I was telling my mother about this, when I was probably in my 30s. She didn't know I was doing that, so parents don't know anything.
So how did you do the title for the car then?
We just, his dad was in insurance.
So his dad knew.
Oh, yes.
Okay, but okay, I got you. All right.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
His dad knew because the car was in his garage.
Yeah.
The gutters off his house a couple times. He knew, so that's right. But but not many others did.
And then when he turned 16, most of that went away because he was driving everywhere?
Yeah, he bought us out.
Okay.
And it was his car. Yeah.
That's so
Cents
good.
and all. They were all part of it. So yeah.
5 cents to ride in the back seat in the middle.
Yes. Safest place. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm glad you took the mailbox out. Did you guys end up backing into anything?
not really much. His garage door had some problems. He had some trees on the set, but the trees were fine. The car took the worst of it. So yeah, it was because you had to turn a little bit going around the garage, so it took a little time to make sure we weren't taking that gutter off. The mirrors
Okay.
were a little rough.
Did
So, yeah.
yeah. Did all you shareholders come up with a good name for the car?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
You mentioned that there was a name, but I don't even remember it now. I'm gonna have to
Nice.
start and think about that. But yeah,
And
I saw my internet froze up there a little bit.
Yep.
Apologize.
No, what color was the car?
I was like, I'm colorblind, but it's like beige, light color.
Okay. All right. And it pretty much stayed that way
A
with
little Hillman Manx.
Yep. So, and it pretty much stayed that way with all the
Oh
scuff
yeah.
marks, right?
Oh yeah.
All right.
It was.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, folks, we've been putting Steve's number up here on the screen. If you are interested in BNI, please give him a call. It's worth visiting, and you can go to trianglebni.com if you're in the Triangle looking for chapters. And if you're in the Coast, you can click on coastalncbni.com. Go visit a chapter. You don't have to join. You don't have to pay anything. You just show up, probably meet some people and figure out, I need to look more into this because it is worth it. We've seen some people do very well in BNI. So, Steve, enjoyed having you on the show. Thanks for coming on today. And so I guess we lost his connection there. So anyways, trianglebni.com, coastalncbni.com, and that'll get you the list of all the chapters. And Steve, enjoyed having you on the show today.
Thank you. Sorry about freezing up there.
No worries. And we will see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast, BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.